Good morning, self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, and my beautiful co-host, Trish Wright is with us today also. We have an amazing guest. And for those viewers that are new to us, thank you for being present. Before I introduce our guest, I just want to say, in case you didn't know, we're on all the podcast platforms. So I just invite you to have curiosity and go find us on all the platforms. We're there. There's so many gems and jewels from we're almost coming up on our 3-year anniversary in March that will happen, which is really exciting. So I just want to encourage you. Self-love is such a wide umbrella and juicy topic of all kinds of ways we can love ourselves more and understand our healing journey and our spiritual curriculum on the earth. And so this is why we birthed the Self-Love Show, to really be a free resource to support people in understanding themselves, their journey, what they're here to do, and level up their life in all the places and ways of self-love. Yes. So today we have a beautiful, beautiful sister friend of mine. Her name is Hilein, and I'm going to just read a little bit about the day's show and topic. So trauma-informed immigration and social integration support is an incredibly important aspect of well-being for many individuals nowadays. And on this week's episode of the Self-Love Show, we have the pleasure of speaking to Hilein about her specialized work in the field. With her expertise and experience, she will provide critical insights into the complexities of trauma-informed immigration and social integration support. Whether you are practicing in the field, have experienced trauma yourself, or have someone close to you who has been impacted by trauma-informed immigration and social integration support, this episode will offer you tools to live a deep, connected, and vibrant life. She's excited to share her passion about living a life full of meaning and purpose by sharing her knowledge with those who are inspired to experience greater happiness, healing, and well-being in their lives. Hilein had her fair share of ups and downs in life, and it started by her immigration to America from the Middle East, where everything she ever knew and resonated with as a child was pulled out from under her feet. And at 16, she was left to navigate a new language and integrate into a new society on her own. She struggled with anxiety, depression, and devastating fires that took her home and belongings, as well as many heartbreaks. She not only survived those experiences, but now thrive, living a life full of deep connection, meaning, and purpose. Her mission is to help others discover the transformative power within change and growth, and to continuously expand your vision of what is possible, listening to your intuition, shaping your life story into a magnificent tale of healing, courage, beauty, wisdom, and power. Yes. So Hilein currently serves as a trauma-informed coach in LA. She had spent the last 3 years studying with one of the leading experts on trauma, Dr. Gabor Mate, renowned speaker and best-selling author, experts on subjects such as addiction, stress, childhood trauma. And throughout her life, she has dedicated many years into her own healing with plant medicine retreats throughout the US and Peru. She's passionate about supporting individuals and couples to reconnect with a state of wholeness that is not hindered by their past trauma and conditioning. Wow, Hilein, welcome. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Don and Trish. I'm so grateful to be here.
I'd love to know a little bit about what trauma integration support looks like.
Yeah. So, living in the US, I think a lot of us are coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different inbreeding of different cultures. And as someone who, grew up until age 16, I spent most of my youth in Egypt, which is in the Middle East. It's a third world country and highly dominated by religion. And just coming into a new society such as the US that is so vast and where you're immersed with so many other minorities and other cultures, and to just really find your place in where you are in this new arena, and what feels authentic for you, and to find your community, and to find that familiarity in a sense, right, of what you hold closest to your heart and what you value and what you feel is important to you. So I think it's definitely a huge transitions for a lot of us who have experienced the uprooting and come into a new home and a new country. And so my work is really about supporting those who are experiencing that to really feel empowered to take their place in this new platform, in this new society, in this new country, and to really feel empowered and be able to move beyond the limitation of whatever background they come from. And what I mean by that is some of us kind of get stuck in what we knew and what we grew up as with as children, and some shame and guilt of culture and religious backgrounds that kind of are imposed on us when we're children. And as we grow up, some of us continue to resonate with that, and some just don't. And so it's about just noticing where our behavior at different behavior adaptational that patterns that we grow to take on as adults, and really dismantling that and breaking down the stories of, am I still that teenager that was living in Egypt, that was a suppressed girl, or am I now an empowered woman living in a first world country, and I have the freedom and I have the power to really create my life experience the way that I dream of it. So it's really about empowering people to take their full seat in their new experiences as they land in these different places.
How do people find you?
So my website is HileinShenouda.com. I'm also on Instagram at Hilein Shenouda, and Facebook under the same name as well. So Hilein is Hilein. Last name is Shenouda. And that's my Instagram and Facebook handle.
Oh, totally. That's awesome. Like, how would someone go about, like, if there were, like, what I'm thinking about is, I had a partner who had come over from what was the Soviet Union in the 80s, and he shared that he really struggled
Mm.
with finding his place.
Yeah.
and I don't think that there was a lot of support for him like in any way. So there wasn't a lot of social integration support, or even like immigration, like legal immigration help, or help with documents, or language barriers, or how society here works versus how society there worked.
Yeah.
How, like, I've never heard of anyone doing this before. So how do people find you, other than that? Like, how would they reach
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, so I'm pretty involved in the Arabic community, and I think um, there's different support Facebook groups that are specifically, targeted to different like culture and people from different that speak different languages, and I think finding for him, for example, just finding different, seeing if there is any support groups or nonprofit organizations, um, and or even you know, public service run organizations that can help link him with um, people in a similar situations, or people that can. I mean, you speak about, yeah, just the legal part or just the paperwork part even. Um, so hopefully there is some sort of organization set in place for his region, and a good kind of a good reference point is to go to his embassy, whatever embassy he would belong to, and find where the local office is wherever he is. And usually the embassy is a big umbrella of a place where he can start kind of asking some of these questions. What are the possible what are the organizations? Is there anyone supporting people like me who immigrate here? Um, is there any programs of which I might qualify for to help support me, to learn this new language, and maybe surround myself with other people who are going through the similar process, and um,
That's so valuable.
yeah, just kind of checking that out. And also, um, any sort of like spiritual church or whatever kind of religion, in that culture is practiced. I think a good place to is to, whether you resonate with that religion, or whether you want to go to that church or not. It's just about kind of going there and connecting with people, because those leaders, and like a priest or someone like that, who speaks that language, will also have resource of other people that a person can connect with. So um,
Definitely.
yeah, I think those are just a few ways that might be helpful.
Excellent. I think that that's really an excellent list for people who have just immigrated or who are wanting to soon. And if you have friends, go back, rewind, and write those down for your friends. Like, things that I would have never even thought of is going
Oh,
to the embassy or going to church, and like, brilliant.
and I can imagine they deal with so much feelings of isolation and aloneness, right? That's the deep underlying thing going on because they don't speak the same language. There's all these barriers to feel like, and it probably brings forward a massive sense of a deep sense of rejection or aloneness, probably that they're dealing with inside themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think just a simple not speaking the language of the place of which you are, I think that by itself almost creates a, a silence of which we individuals don't choose. It's almost like it forces you into silence. And for me, coming here when I was 16 and going through that traumatic experience of that shift, I actually didn't speak for the first few months. And it wasn't, I didn't even speak with my family at home, Arabic, which is my native language. And it was my form of how I process the shock. So I think aside from just the verbal communication of the day to day of, can you help me get to a grocery store, or how do I fill out this paperwork, or I don't understand where to sign. It's just very simple, things like that we might take for granted as someone who speaks English and living in an English speaking country. And if you don't have support, if you don't have someone to accompany you, if you don't have that guide of somebody who at least gets you up on your feet, it can be a really tough transition. Um, so yeah, I just encourage people to utilize the internet, right, and utilize what resources that are available, because there are a lot of resources, and even a lot of government aid programs that help support those who are refugees, and those who are coming here, immigrating here if you're a low income individual. And even through government aid programs, like for example, applying for housing, or applying for food stamps, or applying for Medi-Cal, or applying for welfare. If you are a low income individual, and you feel like you can qualify through social services under those programs, they can also kind of help lead you into different things and share different resources of what else you might qualify for. So yeah, I think, and there is a lot in government aid programs, they always provide a translator. So that is definitely
Beautiful.
readily available service.
I was gonna say that that's such an amazing resource. Thank you for bringing all that forward, and it's also good for our viewers and our listeners, even if this doesn't apply to you directly. What if you might know someone that's experiencing this, or maybe, you're your house cleaner's friend, right? Like there is no sense of separation truly between us all. And like, it's really good that this show is existing as a resource for people to find this information. And you know that you could just pass this show on once it's populated in all the places to that person that you know that might have a friend that's in that position.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and again, any support you can provide to someone in that place is, they'll never forget that favor for the rest of their life, because it is an extremely vulnerable experience, and especially doing it as an adult, right? So I was still a teenager, but if you're experiencing this as an adult, um, and for my mother and father, they were in their late 40s entering their 50s, and so it's even harder for someone at that age to pick up a new language and to change their ways, right, to adapt into a new society. And they seem to be much more set in their ways, in a sense, right? So yeah, any support, any guidance, even if you can give them a ride, right, somewhere. um, I promise.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that that person will never forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Kindness.
That
Everything. Sorry, go ahead.
well, that's the beautiful thing, is that we get to help each other. Um, one of the things, I love that you brought this up, is one of the things that I've been doing is finding people resources. Someone that I know is losing their house because they haven't been able to pay rent. And there are lots of resources out there, and maybe the person, they can use the internet and all of that stuff, but there's a lot of overwhelm and fear of doing it wrong, especially in immigration specifically, because if they fill out something wrong, they could get deported. If they don't do it, in this very specific way, or check a specific box, they might not get what they need. And so being able to be a second pair of eyes, or just, I'm cultivating a document for San Francisco right now. I'm going to share it. I was actually going to share it in the next few days, about resources for housing, for cheaper electricity you can get on the CARE program, which, if you're low income, it really helps with electricity. There's water help, with the water utility. There's phone. There's a lot of different programs out there that, well, I mean, if we're going to spend tax money, we might want to spend it on these things and not,
Exactly.
War Machine. And just to make this a point for everyone who's listening, is that I know that there's this thing, this like belief that receiving help is in some way bad, wrong, less than. That if you're listening right now and you're hungry, or you're scared about food, or you're scared about how you're going to pay your rent, or you need cash assistance, there's no shame in asking for help and getting that help that you need. It's literally there to help you get out of survival and into thriving. Use it as a stepping stone. If you need help, I'm sure one of us will help you with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think that one lesson that I learned, just as someone going through this process, is giving someone the gift to receive what they're given is more for the other person than actually me. So
Yes.
when I authentically give something to you, like you're giving me a gift, right? That person is giving me a gift by receiving it from me. And if they choose not to receive it from me, they're kind of denying me the beautiful experience of love that comes in that experience of giving. And so yeah, I think we're conditioned, like you said, to think of it as I'm in a bad place, or I can't believe I'm needing help in this way. And it's simply just a shift of the mind, of our perspective, of actually no, like I am blessing this person who's given this gift to me by giving them the opportunity to support me.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, the feeling of love is experienced way more in giving than it's in receiving. So the vibration of the essence of what love is, in my opinion, in my personal life, I experience it more when I give someone something, when I share something with someone. um, I experience that vibration and that feeling and the essence of love more in the giving than when somebody gives me a gift.
Mhm. That's so true.
Yeah, so it's important to just kind of, remember that it's giving the other person permission, right, to give.
So I'll
Yeah.
read Jeffrey's thing. It says, Jeffrey, hi, Jeffrey. In my mind, from my experience moving from Cali to East Coast, it was like a foreign body walking into a foreign body as a cell. The social body will feel as though this is an undesirable, unhealthy virus. And to integrate into a foreign area using creative visualizations, seeing ourselves falling into place as if this is the perfect place for us to be.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey, for bringing that forward. Like, we just love when people tune in live. It's such a great thing. Hi, my friend.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's so true. Yeah, just the power of our imagination of, everything happens and is happening for a reason, and I landed in this place because this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mhm.
And just really remembering that those times where we feel like disconnected, and we're in this place of just trying to see where do we actually fit in this puzzle.
Mhm.
And just having a lot of patience and compassion, right, for our experience, because it is a big shift, and it sometimes just takes a little bit of time to
Mhm.
really ground and settle and find our community and find the connections.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for sharing.
Mhm.
Mm.
So I want to ask you a question about, like, serving in your practice. With you mostly work with women, it sounds like, or do you
I work with men too, but yeah, it's just that, it's about anyone who is going through a process of which they've integrated into a new country and they're having some
struggles?
internal struggles. Yeah. And obviously the resources, like you said, Trish, the list of resources I share with people, what has been
Fantastic.
helpful for me. And one resource I forgot to mention, I think that's also really important, is Catholic Charities. And I came across Catholic Charities after losing my home in the fires, and they're also very connected to so many other resources. So that's also, I just wanted to mention that's a good place to be looking to. Um, but yeah, my work is about just kind of dismantling some of the stigma around the religious and the culture imprinting and guilt and shame that might come from somebody, for example, using myself, who grew up in a third world country. I grew up in a, I would say, middle class, very Christian home. And um, Egypt is 97% Muslims, and I think it is 4% Christian. So I was already, dealing with some um, just a separation and anxiety just growing up, feeling judged by not wearing the hijab. And people can point me out walking down the street because most Muslim women do wear the hijab. So I'm already being um, in the spotlight in a sense, right? Just by simply walking down the street, I don't need to do anything, just having my head not covered. And yeah, just growing up in a Christian home. So moving to America and going through this process. And I think it's important to share. I came on a visa lottery system, and the way that worked is you were in this drawing, so it's a lottery system. And after 12 years, we got a call from the embassy, and they said you have 2 weeks to pack your bags and move. And so it's a pretty shocking and very short amount of time to uproot a family. Uh, and I wasn't aware that we were in any sort of drawing leading up to that point, and so it it wasn't like I was prepared or I knew this was coming one day. Um, and so yeah, just leaving everything behind, right? Even everything you resonate with, everything that brings you a sense of knowing about yourself and your environment and your experience, and come into this new place where you go from, you're dealing with currency change, right? So um, I think right now the $1 is 30 guinea, which, just to put it in perspective, if you have $1,000, you have 30,000 guinea. And so when you transfer your money, right, to dollar, all of a sudden you go from high middle class or wherever you were to like way below poverty level, coming to America. And so I was not only dealing with, yeah, the shock of the uproot, and then, being surrounded by people that they looked so different than me, and they didn't speak my language, and then also dealing with the poverty shift of like, wow, my mom barely has any money to give me for lunch for school, and I'm having to take the bus because we don't have a car for years. And so as I grew up from that, so it's, that's kind of the for me was, I was a teenager, and so that kind of happened during those years. But as I grew up, I think one of my biggest things that I had to work with was, how can I feel empowered to live my life as I see it, and to be in this place of exploration of myself, and to trust whatever path I'm being guided to, and not feel shame and guilt that I am, not given everything to be next to my mother, who my mom had a disability um, all my life. And so there was this sense of, I need to live my life to support my mom. And my mom suffered and gave up so much to bring me here to America. And here I am having this experience of not being suppressed, and not competing for a seat, and not like, I have the freedom, right, to explore. And there was this guilt around, well, I just want to spread my wings and go, right? But if you can imagine, like, a chain was tied to my ankle, and it went from Northern California, which is where I had moved to down to Los Angeles, where my mom was. And for 3 years, after college, I was living in Northern California, but I every day would wake up with this deep sense of shame that I wasn't closer to my mom, and I wasn't taking care of my mom. And yeah, so I think it's just helping to support people to really learn how to create healthy boundaries, right? So healthy boundaries with your family. And my family, there was no sense of any boundaries. And you try to explain, hey, I have this boundary, please respect it. They don't understand, right? There's no concept of that. And so um how do you really set your foot down and not be subject to manipulation and guilt, right? And how do I not impose that on myself? Because here I was living in this place that I always dreamed of living in Northern California. But yeah, I was always carrying the guilt of my mom. And I had to wake up one day and be like, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, hey, you can't continue to be here if you're going to feel guilty every day. If this is what your truth is, just go back and move to LA, right? And take care of your mom. And what is the best and highest thing for you to do right now? For your self evolution, where do you need to be? And ultimately realizing I needed to stay, up north, and really like tune into this community and the support that I've never found down in LA. And that's really was a reason why I ran away. So
Wow.
yeah, this is kind of a long, extensive explanation, but I help support um, support clients to really find the root, right, of where the discomfort, where the disconnection happened in their life. And so some of it goes back to childhood. So it's about, how do I connect with this younger part of me that felt abandoned, right? That's scared to be abandoned again. And how do I pay attention to learning my coping mechanism and learning when I'm walking in life, and then all of a sudden that wounded child takes a front seat of my mind, and I get flooded with all the emotions of the pain of what that young girl felt, even though that's not my story anymore. That's not my life anymore. And I'm not under those circumstances anymore. But yeah, it's in the driver's seat of my life, right? It's just still driving my life today, even though I'm not that child anymore.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow. I really resonate with what you say, even though I didn't immigrate from another country. I'm born in this country, but I did move from Texas to California, which was also culture shock for me. It was very radically different, the belief structures and the belief systems, and love my family and love the roots that I come from, and completely different. And, I too had to deal with a lot of oppression and shame, and I had to learn to set those boundaries in my own family dynamic with my father, because I'm a child abuse survivor, and I had to, in my 20s, I sent some very, very long, lengthy letters to explain to my father before he died. I needed to explain my own side of the journey of how it feels to be treated a certain way, and that I personally don't believe that this is how one should be treated, and did it with so much love. And I thank God I had the foresight to have good people in my life, and to cultivate. I moved to California with an intention that I am going to cultivate good people in my life. I'm going to cultivate a good, nurturing circle to support me, because I had toxic people in my life that I left behind. It was just the byproduct of a perpetuated patterning of abuse, right? And then I just allowed in like really toxic people, because that was familiar, because
right,
I was treated with such toxicity in my
right,
childhood, right? And so patterning works that way, where it can feel like you become an attractor field. If you have unhealed parts, it literally becomes an attractor field to draw and attract to you the same circumstances to you, even though you might be in a completely different place. You're going to be drawing and attracting the same character types to still heal and work on that unresolved emotional material from your childhood.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, it just, hearing you share that, it reminds me of, this interesting moment in my life where I realized that I was actually addicted to my own pain, right? So I had spent so much time being depressed and down on myself and feeling like nothing's ever going to work out for me, and just being in this place of, I'm alone and I will always be alone, right? And all the stories that come with us us, as we're kind of walking through life, right, that we take on. And some of that is simply ancestral too, right? Just, yeah, just realizing, like, I come from a lineage of women who have been suppressed and have suffered. um did we lose Trish?
Yeah, I think she needed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, just, I've always blamed my pain on outside circumstances, and it was always like, all this is happening to me, right? And it left me in this place of like, well, all I could do is like try and work on myself and hope and pray that things, will shift for me in life, and that, I will get what I want one day, and that I will be closer to these dreams. And one of the biggest, like, eye-opening things that like shocked me, and like that I really had to take accountability for, was really realizing that I'm prone to that feeling of sadness and that feeling of depression, and that heaviness, right? Because I've spent so much time there, that's where I actually feel comfortable.
Mm.
and really like taking self accountability for that. And that was a hard pill to swallow, to like really take that kind of personal responsibility for my experience. And that's a pretty common thing, I think, for those of us who haven't been really like had that relational hold in our life growing up as young children. um, and we adapted to different patterns of abandonment and not being seen and not being heard and
Mhm.
not getting that love and that like support. We grow up being attached to those feelings because we spend so much time there, and so when I would experience these peaks of joy, I would always find myself defaulting back into the sadness because that's where my comfort was. And
Mhm.
as soon as I understood that and really took personal accountability for that, it felt like empowering on a whole different way, because I was like, wow, okay, this is something I actually can control now that I understand
Mhm.
that it's
Powerful.
easier for me to be in this place of sadness because I feel really comfortable there. That's it
Mhm.
feels safe. It almost felt safer to be in that than in the peaks of joy, because that I wasn't used to being in that
Mhm.
emotional state. And so when I was in it, it was kind of like, wow, this is a lot, and so just in my subconscious finding ways to somehow come back
Mhm.
to happiness. And so I it's all about like dismantling what's in my subconscious, right? And which part of it is actually true for me today. So that's one thing
Beautiful.
I really work with clients on.
Beautiful. Would you like to move into maybe sharing what you speaking a little bit or sharing what you wanted to share today?
Are you speaking about me?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good.
Um, oh, got it. Okay. So, yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about my work, and what trauma informed coaching is all about, and just a little bit about my training. So, I've trained under Dr. Gabor Mate, who is just a pretty exceptional human being, and I think he has had his fair share of hardship in his life, and he's leading expert in the field of trauma and addiction, and pain. And one of the biggest things that I learned from my training with him is so much of the time when we're struggling with different things as we grow up in adults, in our day-to-day life, in our relationships, in our environment, um, it stems to a place deep inside in our subconscious mind, and a programming that happened to us when we were children. Something that happened that we either had or didn't have, that gave us a certain belief about ourselves. And so the work is really about going to the root of where that disconnection happened, and where that belief first started. And so sometimes the work is about, so it's just to give an example, this feeling of abandonment, right? Which it's something that I worked with pretty deeply. So the sense of being alone and not being supported, I thought that just came from, started at age 16, and went on as I grew up and my experience kind of became what it was. But really, the abandonment started when I was 4. And for those of us who grow up in a really stressful home environment, and when we're very young, like I would say before 5 years old, there's actually a frontal part of your brain that doesn't quite develop properly because that child is under so much stress. Um, and the nervous system of the child feels that. And so many of the people who have those kind of traumatic childhood experiences, they don't recall a lot of memories from their childhood. And I was one of those people. And so this work is so beautiful because it's very somatic, and it really takes, um, it provides an opportunity for people to get out of their head, right? To get out of the conscious mind and get out of the stories that they've been telling themselves their whole life about, um, themselves and their circumstances and why they are the way they are. And it's really about getting them into the body, getting them into the knowledge of where the trauma is landed, has landed in their body, and connecting them with that emotional state, and where do you feel that in your body right now. And it's really beautiful to see how, even though you might not consciously remember the memory of, something that happened to you when you were 3, or something that happens to you when you were 4, the body holds a memory. And so we really tap into that experience, and it's really beautiful to kind of help guide clients to learn how to give that child part of them, that of which they didn't have, as children growing up, and that thing that caused that disconnection, and the way that they made that situation, one of the questions I ask is like, when that happened to you, what did that child make it mean about themselves? And so all these things that we as children, take on, and again, as we grow up, it becomes like this wound, right, that we don't want anything to rub against, because it just hurts too much. And so we walk through life, kind of not wanting anything to rub against our wounds. Um, and so, yeah, it's just about going back to where it started, and really understanding what happened there, and learning how to build that relationship with that child, and give that child what it needs that it didn't get back in those days. And the more that we can heal that connection, the more that we can walk through life, with much more like empowerment and choice, right? So choice to also realize that I'm no longer that child, right? I'm a grown adult, and I have resources, and I'm not alone, right? And I'm not abandoned. Um, and I got myself now, and so it's really beautiful to witness the healing that comes from that. And yeah, and then in regards to the social integration and immigration support, yeah, like we mentioned earlier in this, so it's just supporting others who are going through that transition, and really giving them permission to be compassionate with themselves, with all the feelings that come with it, because we're so much harder on ourselves than we are, with others, and it's much easier to have compassion for a friend and have compassion for someone else, and than to show that same level of compassion ourselves. So yeah, it's just about kind of guiding clients to learn how to have that self-compassion and patience, um, with themselves and with this big experience that they're going through.
Thank you so much. Like, wow, beautiful,
Yeah,
beautifully said.
thank you. Thank you. It's deep on my heart as somebody who's, been through it. And yeah, it feels very rewarding, because I do know how isolating it can be.
Mhm.
Um, and I was fortunate enough to have met people that love and supported me and held me. And it took a while to find them, but yeah, to find your community finally, and find those people that unconditionally love and accept you, and they will show up, right, even in the hard times. And um, so I feel really passionate to offer that to others, and really extend all the resources and all the lessons that I learned through my experience.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful, and I really support your work in the world, and I know you're doing great things for people, and wow, I share the same sentiment, and my own struggle and journey really led me on this path to do this work too. And ultimately it was for my own healing in the beginning, because
Yeah.
I did too struggle with abandonment and rejection. That was like the core patterning inside of myself,
Mm.
through the family dynamic that I was born into. And that was just my curriculum in this lifetime, that was given to me and probably chosen by my soul. And
Mhm.
um, I really can resonate with what you say, because it's a really beautiful experience to support someone in unraveling the construct that's held in their consciousness and in their mind from the wounded parts, the unhealed 5-year-old or the unhealed 3-year-old or the unhealed 10-year-old that's angry, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because it always continually will show up again and again, and it'll show up as this very familial patterning that you're like deep irritated with, and you're like, God, I thought I was done with that. Why is this still in my field? Why is it still showing up? And it's wonderful to support people in this way, to really help them peel back the lens of perception and cleanse the lens of perception around how you hold it and what you make it mean, and where are you still giving it power in your day-to-day life. And that's such an empowered thing, to help someone really let go of all of that. And like, my whole goal as a coach is to not just give people the tools to walk away with the tools, but to actually show you that you can completely dissolve the curriculum altogether. And that is such a juicy, powerful, empowered, because you walk away knowing forever that you have the tools inside and the resources inside yourself, no matter what takes place on the outside, that you can work your process. And that's the goal. I strive to really give someone those resources and tools to be able to be empowered no matter what, and that you can rewrite your story no matter what walk of life you come from, no matter what your cultural background, no matter what your birth generated circumstances were, that you can create the life you truly desire, and the unconditionally loving relationships you desire to have in your life. And I'm living proof. Like, I'm living proof of that. Like, I've been married now. This year will be our 20-year anniversary in September. And we've been together 20 years, but 19 years married at this current moment with a 12-year-old. And if you would have told me that at the ripe old age of 12, I would have said, you're crazy. If you
Yeah.
could talk to my 12-year-old back then, I would have been like, that is not possible for me,
Yeah.
because
Is
of
it
the nature of witnessing my parents and their crazy toxic dynamic, and like how toxic the environment was. It wasn't in me to even believe that was a possibility for myself. And here I stand as a 48-year-old woman in this position, and I feel not an obligation, but a deep sacred responsibility in the loving, that you can break these cycles, you can break the chain of abuse, you can break the intergenerational pattern, whatever that pattern may be. If it's with money, or if it's with sex, if it's with issues in relationships, it's whatever it is, you can break it, you can rewrite the story.
Yes, yes, it's so true, and it's so empowering when we can tune into that vibration of it versus just getting it as a mental concept, you know, and really see the fruit of the labor, and the dedication and in the self work, and really see it happen, and see the changes take place in our life. It's really, and I 100% agree with you. I came, yeah, from a very suppressed culture, from a very suppressed family, really having nothing, and coming from a family who there was no love, and I've never seen my dad hold my mom's hand. He's never told me he loved me once in my life, and to really be in this place in life where I'm in this dream of a relationship with a man that loves me, and I'm in this place of service, of supporting others, and I'm in this place of not being so afraid, right? I used to be so afraid to speak, to share what I have to say, to feel like I have value, to really feel that sense of empowerment in myself, and to like really take my space, to feel my presence in my space, where I'm standing, where I'm sitting, to feel my own weight, and to it's night and day to witness myself come full circle. And I mean, I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and it never ends. But yeah, to have that visceral experience. I know, like you said, I know it's possible.
Mhm.
uh, and I see it, I see how it has been possible for me, and if it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone. And
Yes. Yes,
I
yes.
really hold that, with people I work with, and it just sometimes patience, patience has been one of my biggest life lessons. Is just how can I be patient? How can I surrender? And how can I trust in timing, right?
Mhm.
Um, and things to unfold for me in right timing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Everything shared today has been so juicy and yummy and informative. And thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for sharing your heart, your journey. Like I really acknowledge the level of growth and learning that has taken place in your curriculum and your life, and the transformative effect of just continuously choosing yourself and your growth.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here and to share and to be of service in this way, and just so grateful to be with you both on this show.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, tell us more about how to find you and what your links are.
Yeah. So my website is HileinShenouda.com. So you'll see all my offerings, the different coachings, the packages that I offer, and then specifically more information about the immigration and social integration support that I provide. And I always share things on my Instagram and my Facebook. So that's also my name. So Instagram handle is at Hilein Shenouda, and same with my Facebook. So um, could definitely reach me there. And yeah, I look forward to sharing more as I continue my own journey.
Mm. So go follow, like, subscribe, reach out to Hilein, and especially if you know people in your life who might be struggling to integrate into this sort of Mod Podge. I have a
Yes.
cat. He does crazy things, sorry. I don't know what that was. But this whole Mod Podge society, that it can be a lot for a lot of people. So if you know someone that could benefit from her work, please reach out.
Yes, please reach out. And yeah, I have a lot of resources to share, and a lot of helpful tips for anyone who is going through this transition, anyone who is seeking resources and help to support themselves as they kind of settle in and find their place. I would love to share all these resources and be of service in any way I can. So
Mm,
please don't hesitate to reach out.
thank you.
Thank you,
Is there
love.
anything you'd like to share, Miss Dawn?
Oh, do you have the link?
Depends what you're doing.
I'll do it. I'll do it really quickly. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to really invite you, if you're a woman that has really struggled with your relationship with trust, right? Because our trust can be broken so young sometimes, like mine was. And it took me a long time to rediscover how to trust myself, most importantly. And so this group is a lovely opportunity for you to get reacquainted with yourself and where the trust wound might be perceived inside your curriculum. Really allow yourself to explore, and be in a group of like-minded women that are also reclaiming their trust, right? And it's just, when we get back into the groove of deeply trusting ourselves and our life and God within, then things do open up for us and shift. And so this is just a place where you're welcome to come join. If you've had any sort of uprooting in any level of your life or any time of your life, and you really gonna want to get reacquainted with that trust, then this is your place and opportunity to do so. It's a free group. There's lots of resources in there, and things coming in the year will be changing and more support, and just happy to have you. Yeah.
Awesome. And you also get the self-love show there as well. It is run privately for you. The thing that I want to share is I've been doing a lot of lives lately on Instagram, and if you want some of those juicy lives yesterday's was on setting people up for success, like little tips and tools for setting people up for success, what that looks like. Go follow me on Instagram. That's Trish Wright Loves. You can find me on Facebook as well through Trish Wright Loves. And it's really in those places that, you know, the little tidbit tools that you can get. Again, you know, this whole self-love show is based on, you know, helping people get free tools all the time so that they can walk away feeling supported. The world is a very expensive place in a capitalistic society. So that's why we really support you here on the self-love show. That's why on my page too, I give free stuff all the time, because why not? Like, I just want you to thrive in your life. I want you to like get all that juicy in your life. I just want all of that. And if one of the tools can really work for you, hell yeah. And that is also another reason why we have amazing guests like Hilein all the time, so that we can really offer people's very unique individual work. Because my tool might not work for you, or Don's tool might not work for you, and Hilein's tool might work for you, because everyone's different. There's 8 billion people on this planet. So at least 8 billion realities, maybe even more if you have multiple personalities, or who knows, you know? So in that sense, if you love this show, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like 16 other things that I could tell you about all the podcast forms. YouTube, you can find us on YouTube. Yeah. And you can find us on Facebook, and soon to be a larger audience on Instagram. So again, if you love this work and if you love this show, share it out, like it out, engage with the post, because it's really helpful for us. And it's helpful for your friends and people you don't even know to get what they need. Anything else before I say thank you?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much, everybody, and for our viewers that tune in weekly. We just appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you for loving us, supporting us. This work is for you. So we just, our heart and our dedication to continuing doing this show is so beautiful. And I appreciate you, Trish, so much for your dedication and your love and everything you pour into this, and myself too. And we just want to continue thriving in this way and providing and giving tools, tips, resources. The show is a gem, and our heart to yours for all our viewers. Thank you.
I want to give a big shout out to Scott Katamas Love Coach Academy and Sign Network and Global Peace Tribe for being sponsors, supporters, and networkers for this show, because it's so important. Thank you so much for your continued dedication and support for us. Thank you, Hilein, for your just sweet, loving presence and your work in the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the show, and what beautiful ladies and what beautiful shares. And yeah, I just thank you so much for providing this for others and showing up and doing what you do.
When you win, we win. When we win, you win.
Yeah.
Just raise it all up together.
Yeah.
We will see you all next week. Same time, same place.